Dear friend and fellow believer, these are difficult moments for us all. As we reflect on what the last few days have brought us, of terror and trauma, uncertainty and confusion, we feel as ordinary human beings so utterly helpless. It is as though there is an empty space inside of us, as though we have been drained. It is hard to find words which can express the horror we have experienced and how we now feel about it. Words seem so inadequate, so empty. It's as though they've all been used up. We sense our own human frailty, and we sense that the structures which we make around ourselves are not going to stand the test. And so, we must look out elsewhere for help. Immediately to mind come the words of the psalmist, "I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from?" And the answer of faith is, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." Psalms 121. As believers, we are a people of hope, and we speak the language of hope, faith, and belief in the future, even as we face such distressing moments as we are now faced with. And we are reminded of the word of David. Some trust in chariots, and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Therefore, difficult though these days are, as believers, we are not the agents of gloom and hopelessness, but we need to look to the Lord. There is no doubt that the hand of the evil one has been at work in what has happened. The fingerprints of the one, the only one, who is constantly looking for opportunities to create havoc, to destroy, and to cause chaos, are there. He is the undisputed master in developing evil into an intricate system. The abominable thing about what has happened in New York and Washington, and really by that to all humanity, is that it is not just against institutions and structures of society that the evil has been inflicted, but against innocent people, multiple thousands, who have paid with their lives at the hand of evil. And we feel with the many more multiple thousands who lost a loved one and who are crying their hearts out at this hour. How do you put life together again after something like this? The answer is not easy, and some will search long and may not find it. We will not be short of opinions and theories during the weeks ahead. My concern is, how many more innocent lives will be lost before we will be able to leave this one behind us? How can you and I help? How can we as a church community help? As a believing community, we read the Bible, and we are guided by the Spirit in our understanding of what we read. Some of what we read tells us about developments in the final days of Earth's history, and some of those will be rapid and of cataclysmic proportions. But it is important to remember that God only knows precisely how the future will develop and how events will play themselves out. It helps no one, and it does not help the mission which God has entrusted to His church to carry out, for you or I to become overly speculative about that which is yet to happen. We are called on to be vigilant, to be sober, and to carry on with His mission until He comes. Now to me that means that as we engage in God's mission and as we await the coming of our Lord, we must be calm and deliberate, awake and informed, but not become hysterical or give in to colorful speculations. We must be sensitive to the problems which fellow members of humanity suffer, and we must be compassionate in our efforts to help. That means, in the current situation, that we will give comfort, we will give blood, and we will give money. It means that we will pray for our suffering neighbors, and we will pray with them. But we will also remember to pray for the strangers, who may be a long ways off, but who are also innocent victims, caught in some evil net, not of their own making. And we reach out to help them, as would Christ, for also they are His. As believers, we talk regularly with God. Well, remember to talk to Him also about the leaders of our nations, America and elsewhere, who now face some very, very difficult decisions. In seeking to repair that which is damaged, may not the repair be worse than the damage. God has not abandoned humanity. Far, far from it. He has an immeasurable commitment to humanity, partially disclosed in the gift of His Son, and He is there to help. He has a way. It is for us to learn to submit and then seek to understand how He would have us act. I would ask our national leaders to take time in their deliberations to pray to Him, for He is the only one who can guide with a safe hand.
There's a little church in New York City, just a block or so from where the World Trade Center used to stand. It was built in the early part of the past century. Rubble from the World Trade Center lies all around that little church, but the church is still standing. And in the midst of almost total devastation, this church is there. I believe it's a symbol of God's people. In the worst of times, we need the best from people. It's not an easy task when such horrible events have occurred. More than one Seventh-day Adventist lost his or her life in the tragedies of September 11. Their families grieve. Still today they grieve. Other Adventists tell joyous stories of being reunited with loved ones that they feared might be dead. But of course they also grieve because a great tragedy has struck this planet. So it's natural that we want to do something in response. I want to do something, but what do we do?